With the war in Iran continuing, do we face a threat here in the U.S.?
Breaking news security analyst and retired FBI agent Rich Coco joins us now to break it down. So, Rich, what do we need to know today?
Well, there's several things, and here in the U.S. we've become accustomed to terrorist threats. And with the ongoing military action in the Middle East, this threat remains. The most likely type of attack would come from someone inspired by the event in Iran. That's what we call a lone wolf. The other type of attack is a directed attack, and this could come from a sleeper cell. A sleeper cell is a dormant group of covert agents living normal lives in a foreign society, that means here, awaiting activation orders to commit acts of terrorism. Dan Morrison is a retired FBI agent who investigated this type of activity during his time in the Bureau.
We've had members of some of these groups come forward and advise of what they were doing in the sense of wanting to cooperate with the United States government versus participate in these sleeper cells. So we have a pretty good intelligence of some of them that have existed, and kind of standing by, always looking for those signs that might indicate that they're out there and ready to put things into motion.
There were unconfirmed reports Iran had used a radio broadcast to activate these sleeper cells around the country or around the world. The U.S. government put out an alert, which it then withdrew, but the thought is still on people's minds. And these attacks could come at any of the 12 countries that have been attacked by Iran. You can see those here. Or they could come to any vulnerable location in the world. However, many security officials have rated this as a low risk. That does not mean don't be careful. And as law enforcement has said for years, if you see something, say something.
So, Rich, what is law enforcement likely doing right now to prevent something like this from happening?
Well, we know that the FBI has activated all their joint terrorism task forces. They're working with the Department of Homeland Security as well as the military and the State Department. They're checking all the sources, checking all the cases, checking any transmissions that come across the National Security Agency, looking to see if any of these cells do exist.
And do we expect to see perhaps what we saw in Austin, the shooting outside the bar that's being investigated as potentially terrorism?
We think the likelihood of that is much higher than the sleeper cells. They're concerned about the sleeper cells, but that inspired attack, that lone wolf, that is certainly something that concerns law enforcement, and everybody needs to be aware of that.
All right, Rich, thank you for your expertise as always.